Hey, what's going on,
Hello.
everybody? In the chat, what's up? How's it going, Classy?
Yeah. Okay. How are you? I don't have
Pretty
chat
good,
open yet.
man. Let's hope that my internet doesn't suck today, and we'll have a decent stream. It's a little bit of a
Mhm.
later stream, so I expect less people to show up today, but that's how it goes. If you guys can um, post whatever you guys feel like posting in the chat today. I mean, really, it's just kind of like an open stream. We're gonna talk about a few things. We're gonna be joined by an magician a little bit later. Um, yeah, pretty much. How's everybody's day going today? Hopefully good. How's your day going today, Classy?
I'm just like a chicken with my head cut off.
Yeah, I feel
I'm
it, man.
trying to just get like a crap ton of things done that I'm working on and getting ready to go to Tennessee this weekend.
Tennessee, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
That's right.
going
You're
to fix someone's calibration.
yeah, that's dope. That's cool, man. Hopefully you have a good, safe trip and everything goes as planned.
Yep.
Yeah,
And yeah, 1,000 miles this weekend there and back. 1,000 miles to New York and back the next weekend.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. The shootout is next weekend, right?
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll be talking about the shootout in this stream. We're gonna give our predictions. You know all the categories and stuff. You have a list of that.
Not on me.
Okay.
But I mean, my thoughts on it is A90J is just going to take the overall win,
Oh, wait,
and the
hold,
G1's going to take like
hold your
everything else.
predictions. Hold your predictions.
I
We're
mean,
gonna talk.
it's simple.
We're gonna talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because it'll be interesting, man. It'll be
Mhm.
interesting.
So Brad Smith, can you throw that up real quick about the pink
Yeah.
tint?
Warn me
Yeah.
about the pink tint.
Yeah. As long as you're only seeing it at the bad angles, then that's pretty good. Like I said, when I had the 65, the whole left third of the screen was pink.
Yeah.
So if you can only see it at angles, then that's good. That's good. My A80J is similar. If I put up all white, depending on which area of the screen you're looking at, you see pink. And it's not really something that can be calibrated out. However, you can try to change the color temperature a little bit to help offset it, which is something that I've been working on. And I actually that's one of the things I was just working on is finishing up my new A80J settings, which I will have a video on as soon as I'm able to. But it's finally done.
Cool. Cool. Let's Matt, you ready? Give a thumbs up if you're ready. You can hear us. Okay. Cool. How's it
Yo,
going, Matt?
Hey,
in the office.
Nice.
Yeah, just setting up this CX to work with the PC stuff.
wow, why
That's
is there
what's
so
up.
many chats already? Or,
Yeah, there's a lot of chats. We're gonna get some.
oh, that must have been before the stream.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're just chatting it up before the stream. That's how
Okay.
it goes.
Yeah.
People are starting to roll in now. If you guys could like put this on your community page, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I got it up on mine about an hour ago, so it should be
Okay, cool,
good.
cool.
And then also tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern. At least I think we're gonna do 6:30. Will be the first part of our two-part subscriber appreciation streams. Because I hit 5,000, KG's gonna hit 10,000 probably by the time I get back. So
I don't
he'll
know
do
about
his
that,
then.
but
Well,
we'll see.
probably within the month. We'll see.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, tomorrow's stream. I mean, if you want to talk about TVs and ask about TVs, go ahead. But if you just want to talk about movies, games, whatever, it's just having fun. I'm sure I'm gonna be sitting here drinking, whatever.
Yeah. Tomorrow we're gonna talk about pretty much whatever you want to talk about. Like, just bring it on. Like any question you want. And then today we're talking about anything related to TVs and gaming. You know. So it'll be a little bit different, I guess. Just more laid back stream, I guess, tomorrow. Not that these aren't laid back, but it'll be even more laid back because class is gonna be throwing them back. So
Almost set up.
Yeah. So anyway, now that I have this done and the new cameras ordered, my two biggest videos I'm going to be working on is how much the camera matters. So showing like I'm going to shoot this as it is with my current camera and then the new one, have them side by side so you can see the difference the camera's going to make.
Nice.
And then I'm going to do another 2x2 video using different white points on the A80J with the new camera. So I'll use D65, D-Nices, which is what I was using previously. I'm sure Matt will have a recommendation for a third one I should show. And then the last one I'll show is the one that I just did right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
All right.
just want to say what's up to everybody in the chat right now. You rock, welcome back. Evan G, I see you in the chat. Vamps TV, Sonny Richards, Pac-Man, Sergio, Ray, Zane. There's a lot of people in the chat. So thank you guys, everybody, for coming. Sorry if I didn't mention your name, but feel free to ask questions whenever you want. We're gonna get into some of our favorite TVs of the year. That's kind of the whole theme of this. Is I wanted to ask everybody what their favorite TV was. I kind of have an idea about what Classy's gonna say, but
Maybe
we'll go ahead and ask him. We'll go ahead and throw that up right now. We'll just say.
I gotta laugh though real quick at what Brad Smith said.
Okay, we'll bring that up. What's he saying?
With his G1.
Oh, is this one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I haven't seen the 55 G1, and due to the variance in all the sizes I'm seeing, I would not be surprised if it is a different point than the 65. I don't know.
Oh man, I don't want to talk about that.
The 65 is way too cool at warm 50. The 77's too warm at warm 50. So I mean, it's possible yours is similar to the 77. I don't know. I got to see a 55 and but try it out for a few days. See if you get used to it. If you don't, knock it down a little, but you shouldn't have to go under like 40 or 30 at the coolest.
So you're saying that warm 50 is just too warm?
It's supposed to be the setting that sets the TV closest to D65.
Okay.
But there's so much variance from the C1 to the G1 to the new panel to the old panel, the different sizes. It doesn't always work that way.
Yep.
Okay.
It's if you see how much me and Classy text about what different white points we keep finding, at least like with a Sony, I know it's going to be at Judd. But with these other ones, it could be at something too warm, something too cold. It's like the freaking, the three bears. It's insane.
Yeah. So it varies from TV to TV, really, right? On that model.
Yeah, like they're not targeting D65 on some of the panels, and then they are on some of the other panels, and it's a shit show.
Yep, and this is why everyone keeps asking D-Nice where's his LG settings this year, and he's saying he's not going to go out and buy, 248s, 255s, 265s, a 77, and then the same thing again for the G1. Like he's not. That's too much, and then it's just going to be too much confusion for people not knowing what panel they have.
That's the other problem. Like I can't recommend a setting because people say Brad might say it looks too yellow. Yet it could be using the blue or white point. We don't know without actually looking at it. And we also can't tell without putting a meter on the screen exactly where it's at. So I've been trying to figure out a way. Maybe I need to make like flashcards or something with different color temperatures that people can hold up to their TVs. But then they're viewing it on a computer monitor, which is too blue. So it's just it's really hard to solve the problem without me like being there.
See, I was wondering, you have those white balance cards you can use for a camera. Do they make those that are actually really D65 that someone can buy and hold up to the screen?
But take a look at the room that I'm in right now, right? The lighting in the room. Now you have to have a D65 light to hit the card to get it to be correct. So if you're bulb, they have those daylight bulbs that they're nowhere near D65. No. So it's
why you turn off all the lights and you get a media light bias lighting kit and you hold that up to it.
Yep. I'd buy one of those anyway. It's only $50. I think I got one here in the office and then one in the living room.
Nice.
Yeah. So I broke mine peeling it off of the G1 and then I messaged them. I was going to just buy a new one minus the accessories. He said no problem. They're actually working on a new adhesive that is reusable. So he just went ahead and sent me a whole brand new kit that's actually a 5 meter when I had the 4 meter.
I got a thing in chat from Vamps. It says, why doesn't LG use the same alternate white point like Sony? The answer that I'm going to give to that is because that's a wrong white point anyways, the Judd white point. So Sony shouldn't be using that one either. But they're getting close. They're using something that's very, very close this year, but it's still off. It's still not where it needs to be. Yep. Still way too blue.
Yeah, and like Brad's saying, there's nothing you can do to show it in a picture because the cameras are always going to make it look more blue than it is.
Correct. Gosh, I wish I could show my phone. I took multiple pictures. I texted the classy, and literally the screen looks pretty much the same in every single picture. It's like almost impossible to tell the difference. Because your phone sensor is not your eyeball.
Right.
Yep. So, yeah. But as a calibrator, I mean, I've settled on exactly where these white points need to be. So depending on your panel, I mean, I know how to tune it so that white looks white.
Yeah. So when you're filming a screen, like the best bet is just to try to set up your camera to be closest to what your eye is seeing, really, then, right?
Yeah, don't use auto white balance on the camera.
Yeah.
Typically with my Panasonic, I have to set it to 7000K, even though the screen is more like 65 or 6600.
Right.
And then usually I also have to go into the thing where you can drag into the different color ranges afterwards and pull it down to the left so it's a little more red. But usually once I get it in that spot, then it works for all OLEDs, or at least all the ones that I've had.
Cool.
So that's how I get my videos to not look blue.
Yeah, I just try to match like what I'm seeing with my eyes as close as possible. Because if I try to use just like any of the color temperatures, it doesn't really work. So.
Yep.
What's up, Aaron?
Yeah, what's up, Aaron? How are you doing? Let's see. There's a lot of questions. I gotta get to these questions.
I'm looking as they're going. Someone asked about the 83-inch C1 saying it's brighter. There might be some that are further back. I'm on my 48, and the chat is like physically this big in front of me right now. So I don't know if that's what Classy's looking at right now too, but my chat's huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so just Brad Smith, see, like he's talking about getting a calibration meter. Well, that's kind of true. The problem is there's variance in the meters, and you don't know what white point you should be hitting unless someone's already come up with one for you, or you're going to match it yourself. So I literally have now matched to 3 different LCDs. I got to carry my CRT up from the cellar basement and not break my neck doing so. And I'm also looking around on Marketplace for a cheap plasma to match, and then just to make sure like everything is matched as well as I can. But what I came up with, if you account for the variance in my i1 Pro 2 versus what D-Nice uses, it's actually pretty much the same as what D-Nice uses. His looks green to people, but that's very easily accountable because most people are using the i1 Pro 2, and its variance is 0.004. And if you subtract that from his and aim for that with the i1 Pro 2, like I'm pretty much doing, then it gets rid of some of that extra green.
It's fun stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, very complicated, a lot of work to it. So that's why you pay someone to do it.
Yep. All right. So if you guys have a question in chat, either at me, Matt, or Classy, that's going to be the best way for us to see it. Or you can go ahead and leave a super chat if you want to support the channel. That's another great way to do it. You could also press, you can also put like 4 question marks in front of your question. That way it will kind of stick out. Because it's hard to find these questions, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and also call out to me if you hear my kids in the background or something, because I can't really tell with the headphones on.
All right, I haven't heard any kids yet, so you're good.
Yeah. All right, does Samsung's warranty cover vertical banding? No, Samsung is terrible with their warranty. I'm sorry, but my KS8000 has some uniformity problems. It literally has a like dirt under the screen. And the dude told me, he didn't tell me. He's like, oh, that looks weird. And then he calls his boss or whatever and says it looks like someone put a lighter to the screen and burned it.
How dare you?
Wow. That's real burn-in right there.
Yeah, but don't expect Samsung's warranty to do anything unless it's like an electrical component that actually failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard some pretty bad stories about Samsung.
I'd say them and Sony just.
Yeah. I do see like on AVS, a lot of people seem to get panel replacements for a dirty screen effect like right away though. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if they're paying money for that or if that's something that Samsung's coming to go do for them, but I see that a lot actually. I don't know what's related to that, but here's a super chat from Vamps TV. It said, "Do you think QD OLED we can finally get a true D65 on an OLED panel because of the new color filter?"
Nope. I mean, you can, again, D65 is the target, so you can target that, but it's not going to look like D65 on old panels, if that's what you're asking.
So it's actually worse on the quantum dot displays because the narrower the peaks are on your red, green, and blue. So if you ever look at a spectrum, they look like those little mountaintops. On a QD display, they're literally like perfect spikes. And the narrower those valleys are, like the deeper they are, the easier it is to have problems with colors. So yes, the QD OLED can show a wider range of color, like further into that DCI and Rec 2020 space, but they also need to be perceptually matched. I know even D-Nice is working on that stuff, so I'm sure he has things for everything. Other problem is Samsung's CMS system is total garbage, so it's really hard to calibrate the Samsung. I'm sure Classic can tell you that, especially with colors like yellow and green.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm like, I just have a lot of like theories and thoughts in my head about the whole thing too. Like if Hollywood is now going to be using the BVM 310, and that's using Sony's white point, which really doesn't really look like D65 on an old panel, even though they say it does. So does that mean new content coming out of Hollywood really isn't going to look like D65? And it's just things like that pop in your head, and just a lot of stuff to think about. And I don't know. I think within the next 10 years, we'll probably have a new white point standard.
Well, I mean, we need a whole new standard altogether.
Yeah.
As for the 310, I believe that's the LCD. Yeah, like the LG white point that you see this year, which I'm gonna get a video about it eventually. But generally, if you have a new model C1, like it's a 55 or a 65, it's got about 14 clicks too much blue. It's a lot of extra blue.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be kind of matching that Sony reference monitor. It's very, very close to that suggested white point, but that's completely wrong. So I've stopped worrying about what monitor that we're matching. I don't even care. I care, does white look neutral? Does white look like white is supposed to look? Not yellow, not red, not blue. Is white completely neutral? And those are the white points that I've been using on these sets.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't like it when there's any sort of tint to the white, so if I see something that's calibrated and I see any sort of tint to that white, I'm like, that looks weird. But so if you can get it to be natural, that's the best bet, and I think that approach is pretty good. Thanks, Vamps, for the super chat. Appreciate that. We have another question, which Classy could chime in on as well. He said, ATEC with KGs, so the A80J having image retention, do you still recommend it for gaming and also watching movies, of course? So the A80J, personally, this is how I feel about it. I still think it's a good TV for gaming, but I also say that if you're doing a lot of gaming, like more than 50% of gaming, I tend to lean towards the LGs, just because you have more features and everything. But if you're doing more movie watching, more TV watching, I think the Sony is the better bet there because you have things that are meant for watching movies and getting your older content to look better. So I think that's really nice. The XR processor is hard to beat for movies and TV. And, how do you feel about that, Matt?
I'm kind of indifferent on it. I mean, I feel like a lot of the content I watch, even the older content, still looks great on all the TVs that I've seen.
Yeah.
That XR processor is fantastic, but with the way that I calibrating to just absolute reference,
Mm-hmm.
like take film grain for instance. If you watch, gosh, what movie was it? Groundhog Day. Watch Groundhog Day in ultra 4K HD, and the amount of film grain in that movie is out of this world. I used to do demos at the store at the Magnolia Hi-Fi between the LGs and the Sonys, the CX versus the A9G, which was using the X1.
Mm-hmm.
And Sony really does like to clean up a lot of that film grain, but you also do lose that slight little bit of detail too. And yes, the Sony tries to bring it back, but I mean, it's a question of what we like versus what's 100% accurate. And what you'll find is a lot of people just like what they like. They don't care if it's accurate. So a lot of people lean towards that XR processor because it's adding in detail and sharpness that may not be there in the content present, but it still looks better to their eye. So, I mean, I can't argue with your eyes. You like what you like.
Yeah, that's true. You got anything to add on this, Classy? We were talking about. He's asking about the image retention, and if you
Yeah,
still
so I
recommend it.
was wondering how we went from. Well, I was looking at reading the question, wondering if you got there yet, because Matt was talking about the
Oh, maybe I was reading the
processing.
wrong question.
Oh no,
um,
I think he was talking about the movies part of it too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't recommend the 80J for gaming at all. Period. Just the image retention is the lesser of the two problems. The main problem is the dimming,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no way around that. So
Right.
for movies, it's of course amazing. It's like, I mean, technically the A90J is better, but it's only maybe a touch better.
Right.
But other than that, yeah, just for gaming, no.
Yeah. So this is why I kind of brought up the whole percentage thing. I know you didn't hear that part, but like I say, it really depends on how much you do. If you're more of like you do more than 50% of gaming, I would lean towards the LGs for OLED choice. And then if you are more than 50% movies, then I lean towards the Sonys.
See, I wouldn't even split it down the middle,
Really?
and I would say just if gaming to you matters at all more than on a casual level, then don't get the A80J for gaming. The
Okay.
G1 or C1's close enough. You might as well not have any of the problems for gaming and have 99.5% the same image quality for movies.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So
fair. Yeah.
if you want to segue that into your topics,
Oh yeah, sure.
yeah, the G1 is my favorite TV of the year, even though I don't have the G1 right now, and I decided to go a separate way. If I had to go pick one TV for everything, it'd be the G1.
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah.
So just in general, you just like everything about it, like the features and
There's nothing wrong with the G1. There's no area that it's below very good, other than the out of the box near black, but assuming you get that fixed.
right.
And even then, some people like you prefer that extra contrasty look, so
Yeah.
it may not even bother most people.
Yeah, that's true. What about you, Matt?
Just favorite TV of the year so far?
Yeah.
If you could only have one,
Does it matter with the size, or are we just looking at the model?
It really doesn't matter the size. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. I'm probably going to agree with Classy because I've calibrated 3 G1s in like the past month, and they've been just absolutely gorgeous after I've been finished with them, and the brightness is there and all the features are there. And it makes me wonder that price jump to the A90J for that little bit of extra brightness, but that huge amount of cost.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm a tremendous gamer. There's 2 PS5s in the house. There's Switch docks in the house. There's soon to be an Xbox Series X in the room. Like it's for me, it's the complete package. If we were talking just favorite TV for everybody, I would say the 83-inch C1, just because that's the biggest and I think the best you can get is going to be the 83 C1, even over the A90J.
Wow.
Yep.
yeah, I mean that's kind of thoughts I was having too for the price that I have in the A80J, and then the C1 with the mount, and then probably gonna have to get a sound bar for it. I could have just went 83 C1, but
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's a mental thing of paying so much more to go from 77 to 83, and also it be the step down model. It's the
Mhm.
Right.
combination of the two. If it was so much more for the G1, then okay, that's fine. It's the same model. But to have
Yeah.
it be the step down, that's just like a mental thing that I couldn't get over. Um, and Evan G's disagreeing on the 99.5% for the movies, but I'm telling you, if you have them literally side by side, and you're not looking at videos, you're not going from one in one house to one in another or whatever, looking at the store, showing quality content that's not being upscaled,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
identical or scene to scene, which one wins. I've also measured higher color gamut on the G1. So
Yeah.
Sony does have good colors and everything, and there's this discussion about them not pushing the white pixel or subpixel as much, but that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing better after calibration colors on the LGs, especially if you're going to do a 3D LUT, which you can't do on the Sony without an external box. So
Definitely want to touch on that later when we talk about the shootout stuff too,
yeah,
Sure.
because we'll have to talk about what's even fair in these comparisons.
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, we'll touch on that later. But when Evan talks about Sony and LG not looking similar, totally different processing techniques, I agree with him on if it's standard content, so it's 1080p upscaled content or things that are really going to stretch the muscle for the XR chip. But if you have quality source 4K 60, 4K 24, and it's mastered properly, and the TVs are both calibrated,
Hmm.
you can ask D Nice. Like they are going to look identical when you're looking at them side by side. And I think even Classy had his 48C1, which wasn't that bright, in front of an A80J. And because so much of your HDR content is in that same brightness range, the biggest advantage on the A90J might be in those specular highlights, but there's not a lot of content that actually supports those highlights. So it's really a rare sight to see. But when you do see it, it does pop out. So that's that 0.5% that he's talking about.
yeah. I mean,
Gotcha.
and you got to remember, like I literally returned the G1 and got the A80J
Right.
because I'm a case where I really care about stuff that's more than 10 years old,
Yeah.
movies and TV. But for anyone, you just got to think a little more casually and outside of your own personal use case. But the average person is going to throw on Disney Plus, watch all these new Marvel shows. They're going to watch whatever's on HBO Max for the month, things like that. They're going to turn on Netflix and watch the new original Netflix shows. All of this stuff is considered. It's not a 4K Blu-ray, but it's still high quality, and you're not going to really see any difference between the two. It's only when you go into like 1080p and lower, SDR, anything being upgraded by the TV, or even using something like the Shield to upscale, and then having the Sony add its touch on top of that. That's where I see a difference between the two. But if you have a newer movie or show that you're watching and it's even close to 4K and it's HDR, whatever, they're the same. Like, I know that the processing matters, and I know you're really into that XR processor, and I mean, I love it too. I
Hmm.
do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for the newer stuff, it's not really doing that much work.
It's hard to argue with that. Yeah. I my personal like favorite TV that I've seen this far like this year, I think it is the A90J, but like I love that you mentioned the G1 and both of you guys say that's your favorite TV. I think that if the price is gonna be dropping even more, or even if it stays around where it was on the sale price a couple days ago, it's a really good value for what you get. You get a 5-year warranty with it,
Mhm.
and when you mount it up, it looks so good. It's hard to argue against that, especially for people that have any sort of concern about burn-in. I think that the G1 is going to be a big deal for a lot of people. And if I was mounting a TV, that's the TV that I would get for sure. Now the A90J, I just loved it. Like I haven't seen an OLED that looked quite like that ever in my life. I just loved how bright it could get in the highlights, and it was a very you didn't see it a lot, but when you did see it, it was big. It was nice. It was beautiful. But it's like, how much is that worth to you? Are you gonna spend $1,000 more to see it 10% of the time, or even less? And that's something that when you see it, it's hard to turn away from. And I think that TV coupled with the XR processor and just how clean the panel was, it was probably the cleanest OLED that I've seen as far as vertical banding goes, as far as just any sort of screen uniformity goes. It's the cleanest I've seen, and I was just impressed with it so much. So, um, even though I am a gamer and I wouldn't get it personally, like it's just I would probably go with a G1 or a C1 over it. If I'm just watching movies and that's what I'm doing most of the time, I think the A90J is like the best TV that I've seen in like the last 3 or 4 years. So
I
it's
still want
hard
to see
to go
one.
against that. Yeah, yeah, you
You haven't
gotta
seen
see it.
one?
No,
It's
hopefully someone
beautiful.
around Ohio or even within the couple states with an A90J. If you want a calibration, let me know.
I'll do you a favor. I'll take my phone and I'll film the one that I calibrate next week.
But
I'll show you before and after.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
really want to know if like you go on the service menu and calibrate it that way, what its actual measurements are going to be compared to the A80J. And then Evan, yeah, so LG with clean content is really good, but like I'm telling you, like you're talking about the C10. I've had multiple C10s. I never liked it. I never liked
Yeah.
the C10. I
I
don't
hear
know
that
why.
a lot. I
It was
hear
an
that a
off year.
lot.
And
Yeah.
I have a C10 in front of me, and I'm telling you right now, like it was an off year out of the box. The factory settings were very difficult. I think their latest firmware that's being pushed out now, though, is kind of made it kind of catch up to the C1 for gamers.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the what is it, a Gen 3 processor, it's not anywhere near the Gen 4, and everyone will tell you that.
Yep.
But
there's a night and day difference to me between a C10 and a G1.
oh yeah, huge. The C10s were dimmer too than like the C9s, and I feel like the C1s they finally got the brightness back up.
Yep.
You know, not quite as bright as the G1s or the A80Js, but I mean most of the CXs that I see are in the mid 600s.
Wow.
Where the C1s and G1s are anywhere from 750 to 875. So it just depends.
Yeah, that's a huge jump. That's
Yep.
really noticeable, I think.
Yeah, and in a similar, well, not really similar, but if you have an A80J, I don't think it matters on which size, as long as it's the newer panel A80J, and you go in the service menu and adjust it that way, it comes completely just turns into a different TV. So mine just hit 150 hours, and I redid the calibration, and now I'm hitting 860 nits at 1% and even 0.25% windows at 173 full field. Like that's why I want to see an A90J. I know it's going to be a little bit higher, but how much higher if you do the same thing?
Right. Cool. Well, that's our favorite TVs of the year. Here, let's get into this super chat. Vamps TV with another super chat. Thank you. He said you are never gonna match any of the Sony mastering monitors with any TVs. With new monitors having a newer adjusted white point than alternate white point. Sorry.
Yep.
Then A90J over time with creator's intent. Yeah, what do you have anything to say about this?
Let me speak to that real quick. So your BBM X300 is an RGB OLED. I know he's talking about the 310, but let's talk about the X300. That monitor is RGB OLED. When you use JUD on that monitor, it looks like D65 should on like a plasma or CRT. The content that's being matched to that monitor is going to look similar to D65. A lot of that stuff from 2000, I think it's like 2011 through like 2018 or 19 has been done on the 300 and not the 310. HDR has been done a lot on the 310. And for that, the people that are matching that, which Tyler Pruitt from Portrait Displays talks about this all the time, but he's basically matching it with a specific white point and that's very similar to what the LGs are out of the box, and they're still way too blue. So I wouldn't really worry about matching a specific display because everything's going to come back to D65 regardless. So our idea is just get the panels to D65. And KG did a little finger like this, so I think he's going to be right back.
Yep. And someone's asking about, are we going to give any love to the QN90A? Pretty much.
I'll give
I don't
some
think.
love.
Yeah, it's a bright TV. It looks impressive in some areas. You know, it's just, to me, it's one of those. You have a bright room and you just want something to pop out at you kind of TV. But for people interested in accuracy, it's not the TV for that.
Looks great in the store, but once you dial it in, it's pretty mediocre. So I mean, if you want to run it in full torch mode, it looks crazy good. Like the blacks are super deep and everything's super bright. But once you have it accurate and dialed in, it's. I mean, I think Classy had hands on with it in video, and for me for like gaming, I could never use it for gaming.
Yeah, I mean,
it just doesn't impress me.
You can use it for gaming if you turn the brightness setting down. That's the problem, is if you match the game or the Xbox or whatever to the capability of the TV, the backlight can't keep up. But if you neuter the brightness, then it's okay.
So that's its biggest advantage. You take the advantage away, and then it's fine. It's just
that's my problem with the QN90A, is it just has too many trade-offs to do what it does well.
And here's another thing that I want to touch on before we get into the shootout. My takes on these TVs, as someone that calibrates TVs, when we talk about this shootout later on, the people that are evaluating these TVs and doing these shootouts, they're going to be taking the same stance as myself. So guys like D-Nice, Robert, all the other guys that are going to be there and viewing and judging these TVs are calibrators or are video enthusiasts. So I think the results of that shootout are going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's why I want to know if the external LUT box is allowed. Because if it is,
I'm going to have to ask D-Nice.
Yeah, because if it is, then that's going to give Sony a better advantage. So what that means is, on LG, you can use Kalman or whatever, and you can do a huge change to the colors to make the colors have far less errors. Whereas on Sony, it doesn't support that out of the box. But if you have an external LUT box, then you can basically force it onto the TV. And in some ways, that might be kind of cheating, depending how you look at it, because it's not actually a part of the TV.
Yeah. I was going to answer this question too. Do mobile OLED displays have higher color volume than WRGB panels? It's not that they have higher color volume. It's just they don't have that white subpixel. So when you get these phones, like my Samsung, these are hitting, 400, 500 nits or so. They look saturated and great because there's no white subpixel, but they don't get quite as bright. And obviously, it's a much smaller screen. So you're going to get much more PPI, which is pixels per inch. So they're going to look really sharp. But yeah, that's probably what you're seeing.
Also, they're not like the same kind of OLED. They're AMOLED, which is a active matrix, right?
Very different configuration too.
Here's a question from IRL HDR. He's talking about the B1 on Artings.
Yeah, he sent me a picture of their graphs, and it looks like it handles near black better than the C1. But I don't know. I'm gonna wait for their actual thing to come out, or their full review to really see. Preston asks about how accurate are movies at theaters. That greatly depends on the theater and the screen room in that theater, what projector they're using, what the screen is like, a whole bunch of factors.
What was that question? This chat is humongous.
It's crazy.
No, like I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can see about 6 lines max. I didn't set this to scale the resolution very well, so it's probably like 1080p in front of me.
You can do it in your browser though, right?
It's in my browser. Hold on.
Right.
I'm gonna
I think
fix
you
this
can just
one.
minimize like the zoom out thing. I can't remember how to do it on my computer
I think you hold control,
Um,
but my mouse is in the other room, so I'll fix it.
though. Yeah.
I saw
Ah,
someone did
figure
ask
that
me what
out.
I replaced my G1 with. I replaced it with
I
a
saw that too.
77 80J for movies, and then got a 48-inch C1 for monitor and gaming. And then just an update too for the people who've been following the C1, the 48-inch C1 that I had. Um, I was kind of mixed on the panel because there was some pink tint and it wasn't getting as bright as it should. So I did return that, but also because Newegg started a deal where you get $100 gift card and a free warranty. So I went ahead and just ordered off Newegg.
Nice.
And it was actually as you went up in size on the C1, the deal got better. Like if you got an 83-inch C1 on Newegg, they gave you a $550 gift card plus the warranty.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Wow.
I've never ordered a TV off of Newegg, but I'm sure it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we got another super chats from Vamps TV. Thank you for showing the love, man. He said it's pretty interesting how Samsung sees QNED as a replacement to QLEDs and QD OLED. And so, what do you guys think of this?
Makes sense to
Yeah.
me. It's
I
kind
mean,
of
like,
it's the way the technology is going to evolve eventually.
yeah,
at least
QNED sounds
from Samsung's.
impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
hmm
but it's going to be a long ways off. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We've
think
been
the
working
problem's
on
going to be is
QNED for a while.
OLED's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So like eventually your OLEDs are going to be like LCDs, and then you're going to have this higher end tech micro LED and QNEDs as more of the flagship stuff. So you're going to see a huge shift from LCD to OLED in the next few years. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, I see
Samsung's
that
already
way
starting to
too.
go there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, QNED's gonna be pretty nice. I can't wait for that.
I mean, yeah, it's like the X95J and the QN90A. Like there are times you look at that and it is just significantly brighter than what you're going to see on an OLED.
Yeah.
But for the majority of content and everything else, just sitting here looking at this, it's way bright enough. Like
Yeah.
there's any like I don't know. I'm still just having my mind, 7 years ago having plasmas and those LCDs that
Yeah.
were nowhere close to what an OLED is getting to.
Right. That's a good point. I mean, like if you watch a lot of beach documentaries, then you're gonna love like a QN98 and X95J all the time.
You mean Baywatch, right?
Oh yeah, or
Baywatch.
Baywatch. I guess that is kind of like a beach. But like, no, you make a good point on the OLEDs. A lot of people say they're dim, and I think it depends on what TV you're coming from, really. Because if you're coming from just a traditional LCD TV, it's not dim. It's probably brighter than the LCD that you have. Like, I don't think people realize that.
Yeah.
The other weird thing, and I don't want to go into calibration stuff too much, but if you worry about the TV being dim, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be dimmer if you enable Dolby Vision or HDR. So I'm going to do a TV to set it up where, yeah, SDR is SDR. HDR is going to follow that same brightness curve, but then it's going to punch you in the face with those highlights. So like, I think the worst thing about people that own OLEDs is they crank up the brightness for SDR way too high. And then when HDR pops on, they're disappointed. Or like, a lot of the Sony LCDs I would calibrate, especially for Bright Room, I couldn't even tell when they switched to HDR because the HDR tend to look worse. So I think a lot of people talk about these TVs being too dim. Well, I think they're just setting them too bright, especially for a dark room.
Yeah, let me share this.
Let's see. Oh, that's very blurry.
Oh, I know where you got that. Classy.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's clearer now.
Yeah, so essentially HDR should match. Like I've said this in videos before, someone didn't want to believe me, but HDR lives in the SDR range. And this is using 203 nits for SDR, which is this entire range.
Right.
For the peak in SDR, which puts up you around 175 or so for regular white. So the only thing that should be in HDR range or above that is the highlights.
Yep.
So that's why, personally, what I'm doing for calibrating is calibrating to 175 white, 203 peak. So that way, when you go from SDR to HDR to Dolby Vision, the only thing you're really going to gain is those highlights, and everything's going to be consistent.
Yep.
And then on an OLED, so like with the 80J, it's only going to drop about 20 nits for a full field pattern, so you will not see ABL. It essentially eliminates the ABL entirely.
Wow. Let's see. All right, here's another super chat from Vamps. Thanks. I really appreciate it. He said, do you think we could see Sony doing a dual layer LCD again, maybe for 8K flagship? I would assume that would be one way to match the HX310.
It just comes down to cost versus size, and it's really difficult to do those dual layers properly because you have to have a light cannon behind them to really, like with LCD, I don't call them LEDs, I call them LCDs because that's what they are. It's light through liquid. And if you're going to have to do that twice, you generally get a really thick panel. And you need a lot of heat cool down on that too. So there's a lot that goes into it, especially with the cost. And I think that's why, again, LCDs are great and all, but I think you're going to see stuff move towards more self-emissive because they're cheaper.
Yeah.
Really, the OLEDs are getting cheaper than these dual layer LCDs. And you can get them bigger. And the less parts you have in these panels, like if you saw the amount of those Q900s or whatever, the 8K Samsungs with the infinity bezels,
right?
We had one of those go out like once a month. They were just no good. Like dirty screen, misaligned panel. It's just really difficult. So I don't see those becoming something that are going to be like more consumer grade, or the dual layer.
I guess that's a good segue into my question is, where do we think Sony's going to go with LCD technology? Like, do we think that it's going to move into LCD TV, like dual layer, more of that? Or do you think we're going to see it go towards dual cell layer at all for their flagships, or mini LED? Do you see anything like that for Sony?
I see Sony just writing out what they have currently with minor updates year to year until people stop buying them and everyone's on OLED or whatever comes next. I think LCD is pretty much at the end of its cycle, maybe 10 years left before LCDs are phased out. Or at least LCDs as we know them today.
Right.
I don't see Sony. Sony doesn't have the money to make big investments right now.
Right.
Sony, the PlayStation is their biggest form of income, and even that they try to play it safe. Because I mean, I don't know if you are paying attention back, like right when the PS4 was coming out, but Sony was hurting real bad, and the PS4 basically saved them. That's why they started cutting off a lot of the products that they made. Why like their phone market is almost dead. I mean, they still make some phones, but not many. They're really stripping things down to just play it safe. So I don't see Sony doing much with LCDs when the OLEDs are gaining so much popularity.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Like you mentioned that kind of like PlayStation has saved them. And it's funny that they've saved them and yet their TVs don't really incorporate like any compatibility with it that much, Like they're not really pushing like this is a PlayStation TV, like, like they used to. Like they're not making sure that it's all up to date for the PlayStation, like when it launches, things like that. And maybe that's why we don't see VRR on the PlayStation 5s right now.
Vamp said the biggest income is Hollywood mastering displays for Sony's. I didn't know that, but I know, like I said, back
that would make sense.
At the end of the PS3, Sony was hurting for money, and that's why they started cutting stuff, closing buildings, laying people off, all kinds of stuff. PS4 comes out, big hit, turn them around, but they're still going to play it safe. That's why the PS5 seems like they're playing it so safe.
Yeah.
So I just want to comment on this because I'm a gamer.
Oh, yeah.
Brad's like, that's why Sony's charging $70 for every game and no Game Pass. When I was a kid, games were $60.
The games were expensive. Some of them were 90, dude.
N64 was more.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but here's the thing: $60 back then, which is a while,
Yeah.
is equivalent to like $120 to
Yeah.
$150.
Yeah.
Yep. And you actually got the whole game.
And the budgets for these games, like, have you played a God of War or you played a Last of Us? Like,
Yeah.
it is insane that we were at $60 for so long. And people argue, oh, there's this deluxe ultimate edition, there's DLC, there's microtrans. There has to be, man. They're losing money on this stuff like crazy.
See?
So anyone that says, oh man, $70 is too much for a game, I'm sorry, but go buy just indie games. They're $10, $20, whatever.
Right. And
if you want to buy a better game, spend more money.
Such a good point. Yeah.
Unpopular opinion, but I just want games to be like $100 to $120. You say upfront everything you're going to get for that, and that's it. You get the whole game as it comes out, even if you got to do packs. But promise us.
I bought Fortnite at launch. It was $150, and I got. Oh wait.
Yeah, no, I'm saying they need to say
they need to do that.
Buy the game for $100, $120, whatever. Come up with your price, and then just give us everything.
Exactly. Give me VIP forever.
I can't tell you how much money I have into Destiny now.
Man.
You know which one I think has got me is Rainbow Six. Every time they got like a Resident Evil cosmetic pack that's like $15, I'm like, sold.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
I've been gotten by a game for a while, man. I think the last game that I really got hit by was Hearthstone. I put like so much money into Hearthstone when it launched. Like,
yeah.
I've spent at least $200 a year on Destiny since it came out.
That's wild.
So that's over $1,000. That's not counting the entire shirt collection.
Wow. I didn't even know there was that many microtransactions in Destiny.
It's all cosmetics now.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's back off from the cosmetics. You've got the base game. You have Forsaken, Shadow Keep, Beyond Light, Witch Queen. You got expansions that they're running out every single year. So like, yeah, I mean, you spend money on your hobby. They're putting work into this content, so you got to pay for it. Turn on the slide real quick.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're not seeing a lot of single player games anymore, because developers are starting to realize like we can't really make money on these single player games, and so you're seeing less single player games and more of these multiplayer games with microtransactions. So when we see single player games, we really have to support them, as long as they're good, of course. But
I think one of the best examples that ever came out was probably God of War.
Yeah,
you got everything for $60. It was fantastic.
Such a good game too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or the Star Wars Squadrons, $40 for that. That's a good deal. But it's just like in movies too. You no longer have the $30 to $50 million budget movies. They just stopped making them. It's either indies or $100 to $200 million blockbusters that make $1 billion.
Correct.
They don't care about the in between anymore.
Yep. So you look at all this stuff in chat. There's so many people like, I need that new ornament. I need this. I need that. You don't need it. You want it.
Yeah, this season Destiny is better than the last two so far. I am definitely looking forward to Witch Queen though. That's where I'm gonna start really playing more. Just because the Taken King was my favorite time period of the entire franchise.
If they bring back Dreadnought and King's Fall, it's over.
Yeah,
it's just over.
So I prefer to use lower peak luminance setting, so basically low, and then adjust the brightness setting. And so if you just keep an eye out in the next like week or whatever, I'll have my video for new settings for the 80J. And it's 42 brightness with the peak luminance at low, but that's only because the service menu is brightened up. So if you don't have that service menu adjusted, then that value will be different.
If you're on LG, I've found typically about 35 on the backlight is going to give you about that peak white of 123 nits. And if you double it to about 70, that's going to give you the peak of about 203 nits. So bright room, and again, this is just an average. I've seen anywhere from 29 to 32. I've seen all over the place, but I would say 35 for dark room and 70 for bright room on the LGs.
And that's peak brightness off, right?
Peak brightness off on the LGs.
Yeah. Yeah, so peak brightness on the LGs has a bigger impact to your color accuracy than the peak luminance setting on Sony.
So for SDR, you're saying turn off peak brightness altogether for LG?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've got charts that'll show that as you bring up the brightness on these LG sets and you start playing with the peak brightness, your whites are in a nice line and your color literally just trails off.
Gotcha.
So you're just washing out color doing it that way.
Yeah. And on the Sony, if you have peak luminance off and you max out the brightness, you're only at 100 nits. So low, I think without doing any service menu stuff, should put you around 150, 160 if I'm not mistaken. And then medium goes into the 200s if you're at max on the brightness.
Cool. And then here's another super chat from Vamps TV. Thank you for another super chat. I appreciate you. He said, "Classy, if coming up this way, and I know you want to calibrate A90J, he is in Ohio. So if you want to go calibrate his TV, it's an 83 inch in Ohio."
All right. Yeah, that'd be cool. Just
Yeah.
send me an email. Just keep it classytech@gmail.
There you go.
So, yeah, I'm going the one I'm going down to do in Tennessee is a 65-inch A80J.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. You should like videotape it if you can.
Yeah, he already said I can bring my camera in because the main thing I want to focus on is the difference between the 65 and the 77, and see really how much of a difference there is, and also see if I can tell a difference from the screen coating.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, you want to move into the shootout?
Value electronics thing? Okay, yeah, sure. Let me type it in. All right, hopefully I didn't spell anything wrong here. Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're going to talk now about the value electronics shootout. And do you have all the categories and everything for this?
I do not. Let me see if they have it on their website.
Okay. I think like the main one everybody's concerned about is just like what's the best TV? Like who's gonna win? Who won last year? Was it Panasonic?
Sony.
Oh, Sony. Sony beat Panasonic out, huh?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it was Sony the last like few years with LG right there behind them. I'm not sure where the Panasonic was.
The date's the 14th?
Mm-hmm.
The 12th. Okay. The shootout is on the
12th? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
The Sony that one, was that the A9G or was that the AK flagship?
I think it was the A9G.
Okay.
Let's see.
Man, you know you could get an open box A9G 77 inch for like 2,000 right now if you get lucky. So look for that. I posted a video on my channel about all that open box stuff. And I've gotten a lot of like feedback on that, a lot of success stories. So many people are like really happy that I posted that, and then some of them already knew about it, posted their success stories. There are deals out there to be had. So yeah, if you're looking for a TV from last year, check out Best Buy.
All right, I can list off the TVs that are going to be in it this year.
Okay.
So we have the G1, the QN90A, the A90J, and the U9DG. And then for 8K, you have the Z10, the QN900A, and the Z9J.
So there's no Panasonics?
No, they didn't get them this year.
Okay.
I'm surprised they didn't have the X95J in there. I thought they were going to.
Yeah, the dual cell though is there, right?
Yeah, the dual cell's there.
Okay.
We'll see what happens with that, but I think the A90J is gonna get an overall best, but I think the G1 might win more actual awards for other categories. Like it depends, because if the external 3D LUT box is allowed, then that's gonna help Sony out.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be allowed. I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to be allowed because you could add that to any TV, and they've never done that in the past.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think so, but we don't know.
Yeah. So, do you know what they're calibrating the TVs to make sure that it's fair across the board?
So if they do it similar to what they've done before, generally they have a reference monitor.
Hmm.
Class, you know, if it's the X310 or the 300,
I'm
you know
pretty
which
sure
one
they're
they're using.
using the 310.
The 310. So if they're going to use the
Pretty sure.
310, they generally have the 310 like in the middle, and D-Nice is most likely going to try to perceptually match all of the units to that reference monitor. So that takes a lot of work. Um, I don't know if he's going to do a full like color space like 3D LUT on the LG. I don't know if they're going to use nothing but Kalman, like the same software across all these TVs. I
Hmm.
don't know, but I know they're going to calibrate them to as best they can, and they're going to have them perceptually matched, and all the TVs are going to follow reference standards slash D-Nice's standards. And that's where things like the LCDs aren't probably going to match. Like they're not going to be able to keep up with the OLEDs in certain ways because brightness is brightness. But it should
Um,
be interesting.
Yeah.
the other thing is I've heard Robert say it's a calibration team.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I don't know if it's just D-Nice. And then
I
when
know.
it comes
Well,
to
I know Tyler's gone out and done that before too. So it just depends.
yeah, and then there's going to be 10 judges. Um, I know Stacey Spears is going to be there. I assume he's going to be a judge.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
I would assume that they're going to be using Kalman
Yeah, I'm sure.
for like everything. They're going to use a
Right.
Kalman Ultimate. If they're going to run a 3D LUT on Kalman for the LG and it's done properly, then that alone is going to fix that near black problem that the Sony just cannot compete with. So that's going to give better perceived shadow contrast and richness to the picture. I mean, there's so many variables. Like
Mhm.
it really depends on what they're looking for.
And if they're comparing to the broadcast monitor, then or the reference monitor, then it's not going to be 2.2 like D-Nice likes to use. It's going to be 2.4 for SDR. And
I mean, if he's perceptually matching and 2.2 perceptually matches better, then it
I
could
think
be,
he's just going to perceptually match. White point would be my guess, but
yeah. But he might be calibrating just to the purest standard, so we'll see. Yeah, why isn't there any TCLs, man?
Yeah. Where's this TCL what do you call it? What is it called this year?
the
I know it was the
R646.
the Vidrian like last year and never came out, and then
Oh,
now it's the OD0.
yeah.
Yeah, when's that
Oh,
coming
the
out?
OD0.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Um,
Um, I'm probably actually going to review a TCL
That's awesome.
when they actually launch with the color space integration,
Hmm.
because I want to see how well an LCD can be made with color space, and I'll probably do some side by side. So I'll probably finally start reviewing some TVs once they have something that interests me. So it'll be good.
Yeah. Really quickly, let's
yeah.
get to this super chat. Yadil says there is a Windows app to control the CX, and you can force high peak brightness in game mode SDR. Am I damaging the TV, or is LG just grayed out for no reason? I think means you can't force
Mhm.
high peak brightness in game mode
Well,
with
he's saying
SDR.
he's found a workaround
Oh, okay.
to make it happen, but are you actually seeing the brightness go up, or is it just saying that it's done? Because there is another way in the service menu of doing that, but it's also forcing HDR at the same time,
Mhm.
which
Yeah,
you don't want to do.
you're not going to see a huge benefit on forcing peak brightness high. Literally, the only time you want peak brightness high is when the TV is in HDR Dolby Vision mode. For all
Right.
other modes, I leave it completely off.
Yeah, and this is for the LG. That kind of goes back to what you're talking about with SDR, how you want to leave peak brightness off, right? It's just the way that the
Yep,
LG is.
that's the way it is.
Yeah, because on the Sony, I think that peak brightness high on the SDR for gaming it doesn't look bad. Doesn't seem to wash out the colors.
Because let's be honest, I mean, all of these LGs can hit 100 nits full screen sustain, no problem,
Hmm.
right? People need to understand again, your SDR peak at 100 nits, that's 50% of 10,000 nits. Okay. a lot of your HDR and SDR is still going to be in that 10 nit to 80 nit range. That
Right.
low, everyone keeps thinking these nits are low, but that's what real life looks like. That's what SDR looks like. By trying to get these panels to like 300, 400 nits full screen, you are way off and it's way too bright. But if you like it, then you need an LCD. Do not get an OLED.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Let's keep talking about this value electronic shootout though. Like, so you do think it's either going to be the G90J, right? That's
So, all right. So the motion category is going to be pretty mixed.
right.
It's personal preference, and I know that I would say they're tied depending on who you are. I personally prefer Sony's motion this year, but I know other people who smoothness 1 wasn't smooth enough, and smoothness 2 was too much, so they had to go to the C1 or G1 to find the setting that worked better for them. So potentially I could see motion going to LG. I could, if I could see color accuracy going to LG, and once they're calibrated, the brightness between the A90J and the G1 is not going to be that much of a difference.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. I was just like laughing at chat. Sorry. I was very distracted there. Let's see.
I'm gonna look up the shootout categories.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I had a train of thought and it's chat just killed it for me. I had something on my mind. I really wanted to talk about it too. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. How do they I got it back. How do they judge the motion? How are they going to judge that? Like,
I don't know how they do it. I just remember motion being a category in one of the ones that I watched.
Right, because motion is such a personal preference thing. Like, how do you even judge it? That's I'm trying to figure that out.
I would think that you disable all the motion processing and see how it compares to what plays on the reference monitor. I would think that's how it's done, but I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going to use any soap opera effect, interpolation, anything like that.
That makes sense. Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. So, that's good to know. And then let's see, what other categories do they have? Like color volume or anything like that? Category like best color.
Not. I don't think it's that.
I think it's color
precise.
accuracy.
I think it's more like best living room TV, best gaming TV, things like that. But I'm looking at. I'm trying to find the awards.
How do they judge gaming TVs though? Is it just gonna go off of input?
Hand the award to LG and go home.
Yeah, right.
No.
Gosh, this is gonna drive me nuts.
2019 was the last year.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, well, it was 2019, huh?
Yeah, they couldn't do it last year.
Yeah, they didn't do it last year.
So here we go. They had best HDR, best streaming. So it was between the C9, the Q90R, the A9G, the Z9F. And they had best SDR day mode, best SDR reference. Both go to the A9G. Best HDR goes to A9G. Best streaming TV was a tie between the A9G and the C9. Then you had SDR day mode with like it broke down dynamic range, color saturation, color accuracy, motion resolution. And then you have all of those categories for each of those four. Let me see if I can share it without it being too blurry.
Yeah.
Take a look at that. Oh boy.
It's a little blurry, but we're good. It's good. I can read it now.
Yeah. I'm gonna enlarge it on my screen.
Can you zoom in a little bit on your thing? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. King of TV. Okay. Interesting.
So I think G1 this year is going to take the saturation, the color, and maybe the motion. and A90 is going to get the dynamic range. But
Yeah.
I'd wonder if overall the A90J will still get the win based on the points. Like it's going to be close enough,
Yeah.
and then just a little bit more to the A90J in dynamic range to make up the difference. That's going to be my guess, at least for HDR.
So, and just by looking at these, do note that these aren't listed in order of first to last. You have to look at
Right.
the
Mhm.
scores.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
look at the scores.
Yeah.
They are slightly bolded for the winner, at least. It's like
Yeah.
the A9G won
yeah.
all 4 here,
Mhm.
That's not a
all 4 there.
surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, so the A9G won everything except for dynamic range in day mode, and then in streaming, the C9 tied it in a couple spots.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the A90J just kind of cleaned up.
Because I don't think it's going to get the color saturation or accuracy. Motion's going to be hit or miss on the two, probably tied.
Huh.
And then I think it's definitely going to get dynamic range.
Did they add more categories this year? Or?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. I guess we'll find out. Thank you for the super sticker, Immoldy. Appreciate that. Vamps TV, another super chat. Thank you. He said, I am super disappointed in the G9 Neo due to HDR issues. I am too. Would you buy a C1 at this point? I could get back 2,800.
I don't like the G9 at all, even if it was working.
Right.
I don't like curved.
I love the G9, but I hate that it's broken. Like everybody says that it's just not working correctly, and there's just so much issues with it. But I don't mind the curve. I think that's going to be
curve
definitely a
causes
personal
issues
preference.
with its backlighting. Like it's just uniformity problems, and I don't know if have you had curved displays before, because I don't.
I had a curved monitor. That's it. I haven't never had a curved TV though. I wanted one. I don't know why, but I did.
There's a reason they didn't stick around.
Right. Well, they're still making them. You just only see them in like Target and Fred Meyer and all those weird stores.
I've been very happy with this 48CX as a monitor, like as dual purpose, like monitor and gaming. At this distance, I'm a little bit more than an arm's length away from it, and it's killer. Like so much field of view. It's really nice.
I mean, it would be nice if the 42 was available, but you gotta wait till next year for it.
Yeah. It's like, I don't
However,
really want to wait. So
yeah, it's like, see, I like having the height, the extra vertical pixels. Like I like that. If you want the ultra wide look, you can do that on the OLED, and because it's OLED and the pixels turn off, then it just looks like it's ultra wide.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that the C1 at 48 inches is a really good monitor, and I wouldn't blame you for that.
As of right now, honestly, like I would get a 48CX.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even go for a C1 because
they're the same price though.
If they're the same price, get the C1. But if you get a killer deal on a 48CX,
true.
Let me break down the differences between the two of them. There's zero difference right now between like a CX and a C1 for gaming. And I guess on the C1 you get the updated OS, which a lot of people don't even like, and you get a slightly different remote. But you're not getting the Evo panel, you're not getting any increased brightness. And like the one I have is a older panel, and it calibrated. This is the most referenced monitor that I own right now. So like I'm stoked on the 48CX.
The 48C1s are part of the panel lottery. You can get a new panel.
That's what I thought. You can get it.
You don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as I've seen with the Evos, and I haven't been too impressed with the Evos. I've seen more issues with them than, especially like the larger sizes. I've seen a lot of like these lines, especially on the 83-inch ones and the 77s, that you can't pixel refresh out. Like I've seen a lot of pink tint on the darker edges of the screen. There's just, I mean, if it's a G1 and gets brighter, cool. But if it's a C1, I don't care if it has an Evo panel. It doesn't do much for you.
Yeah, the Venetian blind effect that I see when I had the C1 55-inch, I didn't like that. Like I could see that it almost looks like dirty screen effect to me.
Yeah.
Like from an LCD panel. So
yeah,
I'm surprised a lot of people don't complain about that
panel.
more. Yeah.
Well, don't tell them about it because then they look for it.
That's the only thing I'm concerned about ordering it from Newegg is they don't allow refunds, but they do allow exchanges for defects. So how many times am I going to have to ship it back and get another one?
Right.
Make sure it's Newegg direct and not a third party too.
Yeah, it is. That's why you're getting the Newegg gift card with it and stuff.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
I had way too many problems with third party.
Nope, don't.
Oh yeah.
Be on there.
As soon as I go on Newegg, the first thing I do is drop down the filters and click Newegg only.
Good.
Yeah, I remember buying some third party from Walmart one time, and it took me I swear, it took 3 months to get my money back. I returned it at Walmart, but they were like, well, we're going to get in touch with the third party, and it took 3 months to get my money back. I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have to buy stuff in person.
Yeah. I prefer to buy it in person too. Not right now, but yeah. Let's see.
So,
oh my gosh.
I want to talk more about the shootout.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So there's no Panasonic. You got your LG, you got your Sony. Generally, they frame the TVs like they have a frame around it, or even curtains. So if they switch picture modes, you can't tell which TV's which. The whole idea of the shootout is for it to be completely blind to the reviewers, meaning they shouldn't be able to see the bezels of the TV, logos, branding, anything like that. So when they're looking at these TVs, they're going to go what looks better to the eye and what matches that reference monitor in the middle. The biggest thing that I've seen, especially from TIO, is that the A90J having more full field brightness is going to do a better job at matching that reference monitor. So I think you're going to see more of the A90J versus maybe even whatchamacallit, like the Samsung, which can get brighter, because it's going to have that same visual look as the reference monitor, which can go 1,000 nits. So I think that's going to be the biggest stumbling block for LG is the brightness. So I think it's going to be the G1, the A90J, and possibly one of the LCDs that are going to be kind of battling it out. But it's just hard to say because we don't know how they're going to calibrate these Sonys. And perhaps the A90J with that lifted black at the bottom looks more like the reference LCD because of that, because it shows more shadow detail. So even though it's not technically referenced as an OLED, what if it looks more similar to the reference monitor? People are going to gravitate towards that. So it's not just what looks better for them, it's what looks most like the reference monitor.
See, another problem I see is the dual cell only comes in 75-inch, and I thought they were doing 65s.
Right.
Oh.
And even if they were to go 77s on the OLED, well, that's still not a 75. So you're going to have a size mismatch. So they might not even bother masking them.
No, they have to mask them.
Yeah, if they don't mask them, what's the point, you know?
Yeah, because then your bias just sits in. Because then if you know it's a Sony, you're going to look for that black level. You're look for the brightness. Like, you have to mask them. So these are really good questions for Robert.
Because the A90J only comes in 55 and 65 unless they go 83, which they're not. So are they just going to do all 65s and you just know which one the Hisense is? But I don't think the Hisense is going to be hard to pick out anyway. That's my I haven't seen it yet, but I think that the processing is holding that back.
You got to get a hold of Robert. You need to send him a page or a fax or a telegram. And you need to ask him, like, are you going to mask TVs or not?
Yeah. And then really quickly, let's answer this question. I think we answered it, but let's clarify it.
Yeah, the 12th. Sunday the 12th.
In 2 weeks.
Day after
Sunday the 12th. If you're not watching football, watch the shootout. Or watch them both.
And let's hope that everything's okay, because it's the day after 20-year anniversary of 9/11.
That's true. Chat. Let's see. There's a lot. Chat.
I'm looking.
Okay.
I'm looking at a ton.
And then IRL HDR says it's pretty unfair to have all the displays judged against a Sony reference monitor.
That's the reference.
Yeah, that's what they got to use for reference.
What's the other one? The one that just was announced that's going to do 4,000 nits. Do you remember?
Oh.
The only other one I can think of that they master on is the Pulsar, which is the dual layer, like
Let me see if I can find it.
heatsink cooled.
And let's get to this question really quick. It said, please help. The 75-inch 8K right now costs $2,000 on Best Buy, the same as a 65-inch X95J. Which is the best deal?
I'm really impressed with the Z8H.
Yeah.
If you've seen how bright that sucker can get for like HDR, that's going to come down to, well, if you're comparing just those two, like for me, I would get the Z8H for sure.
Right. Yep.
A 75 versus 65. Are you crazy? Get the Z8H.
Yeah.
Like, just go get it.
Yeah, that's such a
You're
good
not
deal.
comparing. Yeah,
I think
that's a really
if I
good
found that deal, I would buy it. Like,
I actually might buy that too, even though like it's a size upgrade for me. Like I could sell my OLED. I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty cool.
All right, here it is. Yeah, there's a Flanders Scientific 5,000 nit mastering monitor, the XM312U.
XM312U. Is it a dual layer? What's the panel tech? It's probably $40,000, Ned.
2,300 plus zones, supposedly 5 million to 1 contrast.
So you got
it's
SDI
LED
inputs.
something.
No. 5 million to 1. Blah, 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 blah. So
supports
what
12
this
bit
is
444.
So this is using something similar to like a 1080p matrix backlight, but it's slightly more than 1080p if it's 2300.
So these monitors, people aren't going out and buying them right individually. They're just like in mastering houses. It's like a big investment for them, or
yeah. So the thing on these displays is that they're generally $30,000 to $50,000 because of how much technology is in them.
Yeah.
And how exact and calibrated that they need to be.
Ultra wide gamut zoned backlight array LCD.
Yep. It has a remote control. That's huge. Stream Deck. I'm just looking at all this other stuff. So native 4K, blah, 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 blah. Advanced signal status detection.
It's 22 grand.
That's not bad. So what's really neat about this is it actually allows you to see interlaced content, so you can actually master for de-interlacing. That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
What time is it?
It's 10:30.
Oh.
We're gonna wrap it up pretty soon.
Yeah.
I just need a second to make a quick phone call.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Go for it.
And they've also got a lot of the same configurations that Philips has, where you can actually see the luminance curves and things like that. That's pretty neat. So essentially, a lot of your TVs are either your mastering monitors were 1,000 nits, which were the Sonys, and then there was actually one from Dolby called the Pulsar, which is very similar to this technology. That was 4,000 nits. So that's why you see. You see those two types of technologies, or you see those two nit mastering levels, 4,000 and 1,000. It's because they're matching up with this tech. So like your LG OLEDs, your Sony OLEDs will generally have information on, hey, if I get a 4,000 nit signal, this is how I need to tone map it to match this monitor.
Right.
And KG, someone asked about, doesn't Panasonic make mastering monitors?
Not sure. I know they have a mastering display, like well, it's supposed to be like reference level. For Hollywood studios, they use it to like preview stuff on, but I don't know if they it's the ones they had at Value, like
So most Hollywood studios use LG and Panasonic, not Sony, for client viewing monitors. Meaning they're not mastering anything on a Panasonic OLED or an LG OLED or a Sony OLED because of the limitations for the brightness.
Right.
They're using those for client viewing purposes so that you can have a 55-inch set with people wrapped around and they can actually see what the content's supposed to look like. And that's where guys like Tyler Pruitt or D-Nice are going to calibrate those the viewing monitors to the mastering monitors so they look the same or similar. But yeah, they don't make mastering monitors.
Yeah, I was gonna say the companies like LG and stuff, they have their consumer grades, but then they do have ones that are a little more like stripped out, not all the ports or whatever. And those usually go like if you think of like your local broadcast news station or whatever, they buy those and then have a calibrator come and calibrate it to the standard, and then that's what they use generally.
And then Panasonic does have a Megacon, which is a dual layer LCD. But you're not really going to see those typically here being used as like Hollywood mastering monitors. You can use it as a reference monitor for grading, but again, it's still doing a peak brightness of 1000 nits. Reference OLED, so pricey.
Let's see. All right, we're gonna take a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up. First, I want to say thank you to Brad Smith for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Before I go to the questions, is there a couple things you want to finish with this topic before we move on to the next?
I mean,
No?
It's gonna be a long day for me because I usually go to bed at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm gonna be getting up at like 5, catching the train and going into the city. But yeah.
Oh man. Is
That'd
that
be
when you? So, how far away is it from where you stay?
It's about a 45-minute train ride. So I'm gonna be staying by where I used to live, which is also right by Value Electronics.
Cool.
And then I'm just gonna, like I said, just take the train in the morning. When you can avoid driving in Manhattan, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's like driving in Tokyo. Like I would never.
Yeah.
No, I'll walk.
Yeah,
And it's usually faster.
Oh yeah. You take the train or you walk or you take a bicycle and that's it over there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any
That'd be cool. So
topics you want to cover?
Just remind everyone, come check out stream tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll talk about movies and games and just whatever.
Yeah.
What time is that? Because I might be around.
I'm thinking around 6:30.
Yep.
I can either
my time, your time, your time.
My time. 6:30 Eastern.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can make that.
I'll just have to go to the gym a little early, and I can lurk and chat, or I don't drink, but I mean I'll get some Kool-Aid or something and pretend I'm drinking.
I'm not drinking. I haven't drank in like 2 years. Not since the mimosa experience, but
I will get some freaking Mark's hard lemonade and sit here, and we can chat or play some Destiny. It should be good.
Yeah. I'll probably be doing some Irish car bombs. Last time I did 6, I fell in the kids' pool.
Man,
nice. I didn't check. I know we check this at the end of every stream, but how many viewers we have versus likes on this sucker?
Yeah. How many likes
41.
do we have on here? 41's not
half.
enough. Yeah.
That's only 50%. That's failing.
Yeah, please hit the
Not
like
if you're in
button
Ohio.
if you're in chat right now. Just hit
That's
it.
messed up.
Yeah, it is. That's why Ohio has some of the highest percentage of graduates, because the scoring is so low.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, well, if you appreciate the time, or just get this chat to more people, because I don't think a lot of people are talking about these shootouts, and they really should, because some people don't even know they exist.
Right. Yeah.
They really don't.
I just found out found out about him like last year. So
Like I didn't
Oh,
even know
he's
that they
pretty cool.
skipped over 2020. I must have been thinking of HDTV Test's little mini shootout that he did for 2020.
Right. Someone said they
But
did
his
a
little
behind the door
Mhm.
shootout in the Panasonic one. Can't remember where I
yeah,
heard that.
Panasonic.
Yeah.
I
Because they had
think
that.
that was the UK shootout. I think
Okay.
that was a different one. I think that's the one that we're thinking of.
Cool.
But I wish I could go. I've got just way too many obligations, and I know with this COVID thing going around, like it's been difficult for like everybody. But I'm really jealous of the people that do get to go to the shootout.
Yeah, me too.
And then don't forget Monday is the ultra short throw projector shootout. I might be
Cool.
going. Robert really wants me to go. I'm going to try to go. It's just I only have Monday off, and I need to be
Right.
back, get the kids. It's an 8-hour drive, so it's a lot to go. But I might just go for the beginning of it. I
Yeah.
gotta figure that out still.
I'm
But
curious
I was
on
gonna
that one.
say, how much interest is there in our community for projectors? I was gonna have Sammy on and talk about the new JVC projectors. Maybe do that next week.
Yeah, that's definitely his forte. He's going to be reviewing tons of projectors, like as a professional reviewer, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
Yeah.
I really like short throw projectors. They solve a lot of integration issues for clients, but the screens have to be the right type of screen and they have to be set up properly. So
Right.
I'm wondering how they're going to do the shootout, like 2 projectors at a time, because like the minimum screen size for that's got to be like 80 inches. Like it's pretty big.
I imagine because I know Robert has the Hisense laser projector that comes with the 100-inch screen. I imagine they're gonna just do that whole package and then probably have the Samsung and LG has a good ultra short throw. And I think I'm not sure what other ones they could possibly have because I don't really pay attention to ultra short throws that much. But I'm pretty
Okay.
sure those are the 3 main ones right now: is the Hisense, the Samsung, and the LG.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be
Uh,
interesting to me. I've done a few of the LG laser projectors, and they came out really good. So, yeah, hard to calibrate though.
Yep.
Yep.
And then,
So
whenever I
that
do get,
go for it.
I was gonna say, whenever I do get to move, which the main holdup is the increased rent prices this year. Having a theater room is going to be a requirement so that I can move into reviewing projectors as well.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I was gonna say that stream is gonna be on your channel, so that's how we're gonna do it. And then when I hit 10,000, we'll do that second part of the stream on my channel.
Yep.
And yeah, you're welcome to join us, Matt, if you want to.
And if you don't
I'll be
drink, then
around.
just bring some cookies
Yeah.
or cake or something. I don't know.
Right. Just be on there eating cookies and milk. That's interesting.
I'll be muting my mic like every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm supposed to be on a diet. Like, how dare you?
Oh,
Yeah,
my
same
bad.
here, but
Yeah. So
real quick question. Someone asked about IMAX enhanced on Sony.
Oh yeah.
There is content that is specifically designed for IMAX enhanced, from player to receiver to TV and all of that. So unless you actually have that content playing, don't use it.
Yep. And you can get IMAX enhanced on the Bravia Core app.
Yep.
Well.
Yep. So that's what it's for.
And interestingly, the IMAX enhanced mode on Sony has like contrast enhancer and other stuff turned on. And when I measure it, it's actually measurably pretty good.
It's good.
And then you turn that stuff off and it gets worse. I don't know what it's doing in the background that it's not telling you, but it is doing something. So I would just leave its settings alone. And then I'm curious about the Netflix calibrated modes.
Yeah. It's my favorite out of the box mode. I just want to say that, like, the IMAX enhanced mode out of the box, I was like blown away. I was like, damn, this looks good. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
But did you have an answer
questions?
to the other question that Classy just answered? I kind of cut you off. So
which question?
The the Netflix calibrated modes, have you ever messed with those? Because I don't even know how you would measure it, because I don't think you can enable it unless you're giving it Netflix. All I know is it looks green.
Yeah, it depends on what source device that you're using, but yeah, it does look a little off.
Yeah.
It's you can't measure it because it only clicks on when you're in that mode
Yeah.
or on that app. So
Yeah.
I haven't really
Mhm.
measured it, so I don't ever really use it for any clients. I just
Yeah.
use the calibrated modes.
Yep. And I've only seen that on the Sony TVs, and really any Android TV had it. It seemed like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's neat to have it. I would
Mhm.
assume that your Netflix calibrated mode is going to be the same as matching the studio monitors, because a lot of Netflix shows are graded on LG monitors as client viewing monitors, not mastering, but they do evaluate it on LG and Sony OLEDs, which are essentially the same glass. So I'm assuming that they have some deal with Sony to use that perceptual matched mode as their Netflix calibrated mode, but I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't want to start talking perceptual stuff because that stuff
Mhm.
drives me crazy.
Right. Actually, so Vamps is talking about breaking in a C1,
Yeah.
and so like I have those slides, but the best thing you can do is just like go to Netflix and look up was it Our Planet or Life in Color, things that are really
Mhm.
bright HDR with no um, static elements or logos or anything on the screen, and doesn't have black bars, and it's full screen, and then
Mhm.
just let it play, when you're sleeping or not home or whatever, and then just keep restarting it over and over whenever you can. um, and then if you're going to try and break in a Sony TV, um, you can use the slides and then force HDR and BT 2020 and stuff, which we know we don't do that, but when you're breaking it in, you can do that just to get it brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, it's easier and better probably just to use Netflix and or whatever show you can think of that's similar, one of those like documentary type things.
Yep. And then there was another super chat from Black Sabbath. Thank you for the super chat. And he had a question. He said, "Last question, guys. Should I sell my A8H 65-inch and buy the Z8H? I mostly watch movies and sports. The OLED is too dim for sports, and I read the Z8H can hit 2000 nits. I think it can hit even more than that, right?
And
No?
the updated results are around that, but
Okay.
Yeah.
the A8H was not a bright OLED.
No.
No.
Mid
You
600s,
Yeah, I would say you would have a noticeable increase and save some money getting the X95J.
especially for sports.
Yeah, like the first.
Sports on that set look incredible.
Yeah, yeah, the X95J. I mean, full field SDR was over 600 nits or so. Like, it's a bright TV.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with what I hear about the X95J. Might have to check it out. Let's see really quickly. I just want to say that like I'm gonna try to get the TCL 6 series. I really am interested in that. Um, Kind of gonna maybe do that for like a bedroom TV setup. I don't know yet. And then I'm gonna probably get the 48-inch OLED soon. And then I'll try to figure out what I'm gonna do with that. I think I'm gonna use it as a computer monitor because I'm hearing really good things about that. And I just got a Mac Mini for like $4.99. Couldn't pass that up.
That's
I was
sweet.
like, it's cheap. Yeah, it's got the M1 in it, so it's almost as much as like what a hard drive would have costed. So like I can't really pass that up. Um, that's about what
Uh,
I got planned. I don't know about you guys.
I was gonna say before we close out, because you bring
Yeah,
up a good point with the TCL, which I do want to get the 646 as well.
yeah.
But I think more discussion and attention needs to be brought to Hisense
Oh yeah,
and the
for sure.
gaming problems.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I posted on my
And
Let's
community
bring
thread
that up.
today.
Yeah, let's
that's
bring
what I'm
that up
talking
right
about.
now.
Yeah.
I've been trying to hammer this home, and I'm gonna do a gaming review on it. And I'm gonna talk about some of the good stuff about it. Yeah, but I'm also gonna mention the bad stuff because there is some stuff that you really have to be aware of, and it's not acceptable for anybody to like have this TV out of the box and expect it to be what reviewers are saying, and then you
Mhm.
get this whole totally different result. And I showed it, and I haven't been shy about showing the inverse ghosting on it. That's still present. I don't have the TV no more, but I have people that contact me all the time that have the TV. They've updated and they say that issue is still present for them. So there's still a lot of stuff going wrong with that. Um, what the truth or is about the cut in half at 120? I don't know if it's still if it's or if that's something that was fixed in a firmware, but I had people say that that happened. I know you mentioned it before, Classy,
Yeah,
about
see,
that.
that's one of the things I don't understand why no one really checks that, because it's not that hard to find out. Ratings. So in the comment section of the X85J on ratings,
Right.
I brought to their attention that the X85J cuts the resolution in half at 120. They
Yeah.
had already tested but missed it somehow, went back and retested and saw that I was right. So they said that the Hisense TVs has the same MediaTek chip, and they hear that it does the same thing, but they haven't went back and retested yet. And I don't see anyone else testing for this. And to me, that's a major problem. That's why so many people are so mad at the X900H. That's why the X900H owners thread is like one of the biggest threads on AVS because of all the fighting about that. Um, so if Hisense is doing that, someone needs to know or find out and let people know. And if I could get one right now, I would. I just don't have time. As soon as like all this stuff's over this month, I will probably get one if no one has done that yet. But it's also something that needs to be checked on the TCL because it also uses the same
Correct.
MediaTek chip.
Yeah.
And I think one unique thing about the three of us is that all of us are pretty solid gamers, and we're going to notice that stuff.
Yep.
Like a lot of reviewers, even D-Nice, you know D-Nice does not play any video games. Like things like that are going to come up with people that play the games, not necessarily, you know, these people that are reviewing the TVs and just going through the paces, but they're not actually popping in games and playing at 120 hertz.
Yeah.
Like it's very rare that you get anyone playing games at 120 hertz that aren't like hardcore PC gamers.
Yeah.
Oh, we got another super chat. Sweet.
Nice.
But it's really important stuff to know because especially for me, if there's 120 hertz mode on a game, I want to use it because it feels better. Less input lag, smoother motion, everything looks sharper. And when you match the native display rate, especially on an OLED, like you get almost zero blur when playing, and it's fantastic. So for these panels to say that, oh yeah, we can do it and we support this, and then it has green ghosts all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just a total shame. It's a lie.
And it's weird because outside of game mode, the picture quality is actually pretty good for the money that you spend on the TV. I was pretty impressed with it overall. I mean, it has its issues, but in game mode, it doesn't look good. It's flat. Like you were mentioning this, I think about one of the Sony LCDs. You said it was like a X900H. You saw it looked almost like it wasn't in HDR, even though it was in HDR.
For those people that have an X900H, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's the feeling that I get with the U8G. I had it in HDR, and I was like, this isn't HDR. This doesn't look like HDR. It looks nothing like it.
I'm sorry I sold you a 900H while I was working at Best Buy because Sony lied to me too.
Yeah. Well, I actually have
That's
a
all
video.
It comes down to. The thing is, it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
I have a video of the U8G, so you can see the color, and you'll be like, ugh, what? And it's not that it looks terrible. It's just it has like a pastel look to it.
Yeah,
that's why
Hisense is kind of dead to me until they change their politics, anyways. So I'm not going to be reviewing any Hisense, but I am interested in the TCL.
Yeah, I'm. The fact that Hisense will literally send their TVs to anyone is a red flag to me. Not even like some people might be thinking I'm talking about. There's other like really, really big reviewers or
people that don't even review
channels,
TVs.
That are getting them. And those are people that don't know what to look for when reviewing a TV. They're just like, oh, it looks good. You know, that's all Hisense wants you to hear.
Right.
So that's a red flag. And for me, the easiest and fastest way to tell if it's cutting the resolution doing that problem that MediaTek chip has, you just load up Destiny, you sit in orbit, you look at that little box at the bottom of the screen, it's a horizontal line, and you just move the cursor up and down. And if that line keeps getting thinner and then thicker and thinner and thicker, then it's cutting out half of the lines.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you can just like look at like the like diamond shape for the grenade or melee energy and stuff, and you'll see if it's not a straight diagonal line.
I'm sure I'd see it if I just popped into Crucible at 120 because I know what that looks like, and just turning the camera, I'm gonna notice. Like it's just gonna happen.
Well, I mean, because on the PlayStation you can't force 120, but yeah, you go in Crucible, and you literally just look at the lines for around your super meter, and if they look like twisted rope, then it's half res.
Damn.
Because the HUD is
already half res. It's already half res. It's already 1080p,
that's the problem.
So now...
And it's not just 4K. Like you send a 1080 120 signal, it's going to cut that down too. It's going to upscale it and then cut it in half, which looks
beautiful. So I'm going to turn my PS5 into a Nintendo Switch, is what you're saying. Great.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about it, man. I just don't know how people can sit there and say that it looks close to a lot of reviews are saying it's very close to an OLED, and a lot of reviews are like it's closest thing you can get to a QN90A, and I'm like, I seen the QN90A. It was
I know, I've seen it
bright and colorful. It was. This was not it. Here I got a golf game that I can show you. Let me see if it can pull up here. 2049. All right, let's see. I don't know how it's gonna look. It might look blurry. It might even make it look worse than it is. Let me see. So let's see. So yeah, it's a golf game. I'll have it play in there. You just look at the way that the color. This is an HDR, or supposedly, you know. But of course, the camera's not capturing it in HDR.
So this is a live feed, right? It looks so real.
Let me see. The one I wanted to point out was like, goodness, where is it at? I have so many videos on this TV.
I'm literally on the edge of my seat.
All right. Well. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to point out anything. This is very blurry.
Yeah, so when you get comments asking you why the stream is in 720p, you got to pay StreamYard a subscription to go up to 1080p. So
it's like $50 a month. Even their like low membership doesn't have high quality streams. So otherwise, I'd probably do it. $20 a month, I would do it. But like $50 a month, that's a lot. It's a lot.
Do you know if you don't use StreamYard and you just use YouTube's native streaming, does that limit you to 720?
1080.
Maybe I'll try that for one of the upcoming streams.
The only problem is you have to have like integration with OBS if you want to be able to like display the chat and stuff. I only do it with StreamYard because it's easy to bring up the questions and but maybe there's an alternative. Maybe there is an alternative, but you'll see the difference. I'll put up a UAG video for gaming. And you'll see. All right. Let's wrap it up, I guess. You got any last final thoughts, promotions?
I was gonna get my Q70A videos done before I left, but it's not looking like that's happening. But they're coming. That's more of a TV that's gonna interest people during Black Friday, so I don't think there's too much rush on that yet. Just know that if you need a below $1,000 TV, that might be the safest bet. The Q70A.
Yep.
A top like an X.
So yeah, actually, no.
And that is 1,000. You think
it's breaking up? So I couldn't tell you were talking. It was breaking up.
My bad. Yeah, my internet.
I was just gonna say, if you had the option of a Hisense, which has technically better brightness and all of this, or the Q70A, like, would you go with the safer Q70A? Doesn't really have the problems and games well, or would you sacrifice that to go with a Hisense?
I sold the Q70T to beat people that are on a budget that wanted something better for gaming. I sold that even over some of the Sonys because it is so much bang for the buck, and it looks pretty good, and you don't get that crazy bloom issue either. But yeah.
The X80J at 65 inches and IPS.
Sorry.
It's IPS and not 120. So the Q70A is the cheapest 4K 120 VRR HDR, like everything.
Game Motion Plus.
Yeah, and it's not extremely bright, but it's around 600 nits or so, which gives you at least a decent HDR experience. So I think if you're in that $1,000 or less range, I can't think of anything that I've seen that I would suggest over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to argue with that. All right. That'll be a Black Friday target probably for a lot of people, I think. Let's see.
Because it should drop to like $700 for a 55 and probably like 900 for the 65. Something like that.
And I wanted to get to this super chat really quick because I forgot to do. It was Travis Sylvania said, "What you guys?" Not for long. But like yeah, we're gonna wrap it up now. And Matt, do you have any closing thoughts?
I got stuff coming, like here and then. I've just been streaming games and answering stuff live and just having fun. I haven't really been pushing too much on the YouTube thing, but I guess anyone around Southern California, hit me up. Just hit my channel. My email's there. If you have any questions, consult stuff. I drive all over Southern California, so check me out.
Cool. Yeah, subscribe to all. Great day, guys. Matt, have a good day, everybody.